Hi everyone and welcome to our last market wrap for 2022. My name's Levi Turner, joined here today with Toby Lee and Lee Martin, and starting to wrap up, well, what was one of the more interesting years in real estate and really was a tale of two halves. Saw the first 5 months of the year continue on from a crazy COVID market of 2020 and 2021. And then with those interest rate rises, the market did shift, didn't it, Lee?
Certainly did. I think we had, 8 interest rate rises in a row, which takes us back to the highest cash rate since November 2012. So historically, I think interest rates sit just shy of 4%. We're obviously well below that now. So on face value, you go, well, it's probably a great time to go out and borrow, but that's not been the sentiment of the market, has it?
No, it really hasn't. It's been interesting, especially the last couple of months. But despite that, Toby, even in Ocean Grove, there's been a couple of decent results in the last month or so.
There's been some solid results. I think, look, we've had some really high-end sales. In fact, we've had the highest residential sale in Ocean Grove ever. That was at 102 Orton Street, which is a fantastic result. And I think, Lee, also, you had a pretty high result in Indented Head.
Yeah, and like Orton Street, so 17 Calamo Place, Indented Head is the one you're talking about, Toby, and it sits on the market for longer than it would have early in the year, as Orton Street probably did as well.
Yep.
And you would think with the challenges that are evident in the market that these record results wouldn't be happening in the high end, but I think what we learn is being in the high bracket of that market, the interest rates do not impact as much as they might the first home buyer market, your younger families, your young couples, etc., that are probably borrowing a much higher percentage. But Calamo Place, highest ever residential price in Indented Head, which is something we're really proud of.
Yeah, and you make reference there to the first home buyers and those people trying to get into the market. It's actually probably a pretty interesting time for them over the next few months. And despite what you read and what you hear, actually quite a good time to buy for a lot of those people, even though their borrowing power might have sort of reduced a bit.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, Levi. Chatting to, we're opening a bunch of homes each Saturday. You meet a lot of young couples, singles, etc. The dialogue a lot of the time is we are just going to, prices have dropped and they may drop further. So let's just sit back and wait and see what happens. Sitting on their hands, which I can understand when prices are dropping, why not wait? Because you feel they might drop further. The problem we've seen this year, especially the suburbs I work, which are a really high concentration of first home buyers, is that prices may have dipped in Curlewis, Drysdale, Clifton Springs 10, maybe stretching to 15%, but borrowing capacity's probably come back around 30%. So you may have been a buyer at 800,000 and suddenly find yourself only approved up to 650, which drastically changes the type of property you can buy. And with a couple more interest rate rises next year, that borrowing capacity may slip a little bit further. So what we're saying is there's not a heap of competition on the average campaign at the moment. If you are a younger buyer, go out and capitalise on that and secure yourself a first or second home. Yeah,
we're seeing a similar thing in Barwon Heads, and I've mentioned this in a couple of market wraps previous in the back half of this year. The median house price is still sitting around 1.8, so it doesn't look like it's dropped. But some properties have come back 10 or 15%. Entry level into Barwon Heads is, that 1.3, 1.4, 1.5. Those properties there are the most competitive on the market. There's choice there. And it's probably the interest rate rises have probably hurt the buyer demographic in that portion. So if you're sitting in that portion, it's probably a good time to buy over the next couple of months.
Yep.
And a real test of the market, I think, will be what actually starts to come on to the market. We'll throw 3 or 4 properties in Barwon Heads online this week and another 8 to come on in January.
Yep.
So it'll be a test of how stable that median house price can sit moving forward.
I think we've got like 12 coming on in Ocean Grove in January alone. So a good thing is, though, I think our vendors are starting to realise also that the market's changing, and they've been really great this year in reflective of that, where there needs to be a small price adjustment or something along those lines, where they are, all open ears about those things. And
I think this market, or this year, 2022, does feel a lot like 2018 for different reasons. The market's taken some big hits. 2018, I think if we go back, there was a Royal Commission into the finance industry, and I think there was a federal election as well. And what we saw right up till the midpoint of 2018, pretty strong market, and then it backed off a fair bit for the tail half of the year. Now, sales were still occurring as they have in the back half of this year, but the average days on market might have gone from 2 or 4 weeks out to 6 or 8 weeks. But again, historically, that's still a really good sign. If you're selling in a couple of months, you're typically happy. It's enough time to get plenty of feedback, look for your next property and make that shift.
Yeah. If you reflect on what's happened probably in the Barwon Heads market this year, you guys said a couple of outstanding results at Orton Street and one in Indented Head. We had 2A Talbot Street, which is down on the river. That was only 400 square metres, ran an expressions of interest campaign there. That one's selling for 5.1 million. So $1 per square metre, by far the sort of highest sale price ever in Barwon Heads on a land component. And that was back in May, so it'd be interesting to see if that sold now, what the result would be. But probably similar to what you said, Lee, I think people that want to buy good real estate in good areas are always looking. They're just waiting for the right property to come up. The other interesting one to note is Conowari and 13th Beach. I would say on the Bellarine, close to the best performing suburb of the last 12 months. So that's up 46%. So that median house price there now sits at 2.42 million.
Yeah.
Which is reflective of the lifestyle that you get living at 13th. It was probably always underrated, but is now sort of falling in line with the prices elsewhere in good areas of Barwon Heads and Ocean Grove.
Similar with Wellington as well. We've seen some great results out there across the board in 2022. So it is that lifestyle property that a lot of buyers are now looking for, probably since the COVID lockdown. They want a bit of space and they want a bit of room to move to.
Yeah. That's a good summary of what we've seen during the year in 2022. It's been an interesting year, as Levi touched on, a tale of two halves, I think you called it. But I think if we think back, we've had to ask a lot of patience of vendors this year, which we probably haven't had to do for 2 or 3 years. So for those that did sell with us this year, thank you so much for having us sit down with you, talking through different strategies, which again, we probably didn't have to have those conversations for the last few years. So that's been very much appreciated, your patience. For those that are looking, as you've heard, next year we think is going to be a fantastic time to buy. There's going to be better choice than there was at the start of this year. And prices are obviously starting to hold firm as interest rates, we feel, have topped out. So for everyone that bought and sold with the company during the year, thanks so much. Have a great Christmas and New Year, and we look forward to catching up with you in 2023.